Now it's time to up the ante with an elegant and refined dessert. These flourless French apple tarts have a flourless date shortbread crust to them. So that's what I'll start with, the dates. I have 1/3 cup, and what I need to do to those is soak them because they're going to be pureed and blended into the shortbread crust. While they're doing that, I can measure out the other ingredients for the shortbread crust. Just like the pear cranberry pie, I'm starting with brown rice flour as the base to give the shortbread crust its body. So 1 cup measure goes in. I'll add to the brown rice flour 3/4 cup of ground almonds, a similar ingredient to the clafoutis, another classic French dessert. And I need my starch component, so I'm using tapioca starch again, this time 1/4 cup measure. I like to add just a hint of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon. Now I'll add 1/4 cup of unsalted butter. I'll just pulse the butter in until it's a rough, crumbly texture. Let's take a peek. You can see that the butter has actually worked into the brown rice flour and almonds quite well. There are barely any visible pieces. So now I can see my dates have plumped up. So I'm just gonna drain away the excess water. And before I puree it, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of honey and a teaspoon of vanilla. I'll pulse this again. And there we go. I have 6 fluted tart shells, and they have a removable bottom. A classic French apple tart is always baked in a fluted pan. And now I'll just spoon some of this shortbread crumble into the bottom and then press it into the bottom and up the sides. I'll continue this with the remaining tart shells. There we go. I've preheated the oven to 375, and it takes 15 to 18 minutes, and these will turn a deep, rich golden brown. While those are baking, I can get the apple filling and the sour cream layer underneath prepared. So I've peeled and cored Cortland apples, which are tender, and they have a nice tart, sweet balance to them. What I want to do is make nice, thin slices, consistent slices of apples. The best tool for even slicing has to be a mandolin. What's important when you use a mandolin is make sure you use that guard. You want to slice the apples, not your fingers. And there we go. I don't want to toss the apples in a great deal of sugar, but I do want to add a little sweetness and also preserve the beautiful light color. So what I'm going to do is build a simple syrup. A simple syrup is equal parts sugar and water cooked together. So I've got 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'll heat that up with 1/2 cup of water, just until the sugar has melted. Now the sugar has dissolved, pour it over the apples. And the last step is to make the sour cream filling. When you're baking with sour cream, you always want to use full-fat sour cream. It holds its set as it bakes in the oven. So 3/4 cup. Into this, I just add a couple of tablespoons of light brown sugar and just a touch of vanilla. As the sour cream sits, the brown sugar dissolves into it. There we go. And now the tart crust should be ready. Ah, beautiful. I love that rich brown color they take on. Here we go. Just the oven. I have a tray already baked and cooled. So to assemble, I start with the sour cream layer and just put a generous spoonful at the bottom of each tart shell and just spread it out evenly. Go. And now, before I layer the apples, I want to drain away the excess syrup. And as a last elegant addition, a splash of brandy. And now, I simply arrange the apples, fanning them out over the sour cream filling. And there we go. I turn down the oven to 350, and these take half an hour just to cook the apples. Now, I don't want the apples to brown, so I cover them with a little foil for the first 15 minutes. After 15 minutes have passed, I'll remove the foil and let the French apple tarts continue to bake for a final 15 minutes. Ah, lovely. So simple and so elegant. Now, I have 6 of the French apple tarts that have already cooled to room temperature. Because there's one more step. It's a real pastry chef trick. What I've done is melted simple apple jelly. You find it in the jam section of the grocery store. And while it's still warm, brush the tops of the apple tarts. This adds a beautiful shine, but it also protects the apples so they'll stay beautifully plump and that pale color. And there we go. To serve it, pop it out of that removable bottom tart shell, slide it onto your plate, and enjoy your flourless dessert.